Good evening. It's Indie Life Adventures, as in Nick and Dory. We're on day 8, and we were sitting here reminiscing about some of our favorite moments from the trip so far. So, before we recap what we did today, we thought we'd share with you some of our very most favorite moments. So, Nick, what's some of your favorite moments?
Okay, so I guess favorite moment that we had just talked about was the sailing, and then um, they pulled out these fishing poles, and they're just like Walmart special, whatever. They're good. I mean, just fine. But we were fishing in the ocean with some very simple fishing gear, and we caught our dinner. Um, we had it that evening, and to me, that was one of my favorites. I think I had a. Everybody probably saw that I had a big smile on my face as soon as those fishing poles came out, and I realized that we get to go fishing from the sailboat for dinner. I was super happy.
That was pretty cool. And I could totally tell. I even told Mike, our tour guide, that he made Nick the happiest because, yeah, pulling out the fishing poles was definitely a big win. I didn't even know they had them on the boat, so that was a big deal. And I think that was day 2.
Day two.
That was day 2.
Yeah.
And we're on day 8 now. So day 2 was the highlight. We could have just went home after that.
Well, I don't know about that. There was so much that went on. So, I mean, to recap, I mean, again, and you probably heard this a couple times already, but uh, that our sailing trip was really a good kickstart to our vacation. We had a really great guide. He spoke great English, so we didn't have any miscommunications. And the whole crew was just really kind of just circled around trying to make sure we had a great time. And it felt kind of odd. Like I will say, it felt a little weird, kind of being served.
Oh, that was totally weird. They waited on us hand and foot, and
yeah.
it felt very uncomfortable to just be like to where we couldn't just go get our own snacks and drinks. It's like they served us.
Oh,
and
yeah.
So that was. It makes me think that we really just need to be crew on a sailboat rather than clients on a sailboat, because we're not the kind of people who get served.
No,
we're the kind of people who wash our own dishes, we pull our own weight, we make our own bed. Granted, nobody was making our bed on this sailboat, but I'm just saying we're not the type of people that get waited on.
Oh yeah, it was definitely odd. Like Dory happened to mention, hey, do you got anything to snack on? And then next thing you know, there was a full tray of like fruit all sliced up and ready to go.
And I just meant like, do you have a bag of chips?
Right.
So yeah, but it really does make me want to get on one of those sites where you can volunteer to be crew, because I do think we'd also probably learn a lot more about sailing once we're a bit more hands-on. I mean, they were great as far as talking us through the lines and like steering it and keeping it on the right compass, but I want to know more. I want to know how to get the sailboat to lean on its side and make you think you're actually going to touch your sails in the water. Like, I want to be where you are just feeling the exhilaration of the wind power, and maybe we just got to do more. I can feel it. I know there's more, and I want to learn it.
Yeah, I agree with Dory. I think there's going to be a lot more adventure in sailing, but it was a good start.
Yeah.
To a few days on a boat, and honestly, I mean, that's probably I'd say probably for 90% of the people who go sailing, that's probably a good share of what they do. They just kind of cruise around, you know, the bay or the lake or wherever they're at, and they're enjoying their time. So, but I think Dory's just really looking for a little bit more speed. Apparently, she's got a little bit more of that. Was that Daredevil? Jumps the gorge. You know what I'm talking about.
Oh, Evel Knievel?
Yeah, she's got a little bit more of that Evel Knievel than most people would know about. But no, it was really a good time on sailboat, and that was probably a very good highlight. And like I said, it carried the momentum into the rest of the trip. So, and it was good to make those connections. our guide Mike, he comes from a family of tour guides in the area, and it was good because he had lots of connections. So he hooked us up with the rental car,
Hmm.
gave us some advice in the evenings as we were sitting there, just kind of hanging out.
We've been asking, like, any chance we get, we kind of ask the local people we meet, like, what would you do? Like, we don't really have a plan for what we're going to do next. What do you recommend? And it's been interesting to get their feedback. And because a lot of times, whenever I'm reviewing, like, the Facebook helpful hints to Costa Rica page or other things, a lot of people are saying like choose either La Fortuna or Monteverde, like they're both the same. But from talking to the locals here, they're like, no, they're not the same at all. And that kind of made me think that maybe the reason tourists think they're the same is that the same touristy things are offered at both. Like, yet you can zip line at both, you can do hanging bridges at both, you can do horseback riding at both. But from talking to the locals, it makes it sound like they're quite different places. And so I think that is kind of why we've decided tomorrow we are going to go to La Fortuna and just see for ourselves. Do we think they're both the same and you could choose one or the other? Or is it worth going to both? So tomorrow I'm fascinated because we did just book our Airbnb. And it's a bit of a gamble because first off, as you can tell, the last two Airbnbs have been like knock it out of the park. Like between the sleeping in the shipping containers to now sleeping in this cabin at the very tip top of the mountain. Tomorrow we're going to be sleeping in a typical Tico house for $18 a night. I booked it for 2 nights. $18 a night. I am just dying to see what we get for our money for only $18.
So let's take it back to highlight number two for me.
Oh, yes. Highlight number 2.
So highlight number 2 was the shipping container hostel. You know, Dory's kind of picked it up on the Airbnb app and was like, hey, this looks good. And so we were like, let's go with it. So, but we got there and the place was just really cool. They had a great community area where you could just play, you could play pool, you could.
He's a ping pong aficionado. Like, oh my goodness.
I think we covered that already.
Oh, well, I'm
In any
just
case.
saying, he loved playing ping pong.
But yeah, playing ping pong was
It was
fun.
fun.
Yeah, if I had room at my place, which I could make room, I'd probably have a ping pong table too.
It was really fun.
But we had a great time, and like I said, the place was really cool. So the people there were great. I would recommend it, especially if you're looking for a place that's not so expensive and you're trying to get over to the Nicoya Peninsula and hang out near El Coco or somewhere around there. Man, I tell you what, they have the places they have there inside the hostel would be great for a family.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's a little bit. What do I say? The noise can be a little bit loud.
That's true. Like
because it does travel through the container a little
in a
bit.
village of
But
metal.
everybody's really respectful of everybody. I think nobody's out to make a bunch of noise. So I would say that was highlight number 2 for me.
Oh yeah, it was fun.
I've always talked about wanting a house made out of shipping containers.
I know. Back whenever I still owned the cave property and I took Nick there for the first time to see it, that was the first thing he said. He saw this old rundown cabin and he's like, we should tear that down and build a cabin with a shipping container. And I was like, what? But I remember that. It was like the cabin with the wall caved in and you're like, oh, we should just replace that with like a shipping container house.
Yep.
So yeah.
So that was highlight number 2, but I don't know. Dory really hasn't said much of what her highlights are.
Oh gosh, yeah, I know that's true. I haven't. I really enjoyed. You're gonna laugh at this, but I really enjoyed driving today in the rainstorm because it's like no kidding, like landslides at any minute. The roads are so washed out. It was very exciting and exhilarating and just
She wasn't driving.
I wasn't. No, I was just the passenger. But it was just crazy. Like we were at this one point in the road, and it is like a torrential downpour. And we're like looking, like, are we gonna make it? And then we get passed by a motorcycle who just goes through the water.
Oh yeah, yeah. And so
and it's like, I guess we're good.
yeah. And I'm not the world's best off-road driver. I would,
But you've had a lot of off-roading experience.
but I probably had more off-roading experience than, I don't know, what do you say, 90% of the population?
I don't know.
Maybe, you know. And I've done my fair share. I'll just say that. I've drove in different countries. I've sought out opportunities to do some off-roading, and I saw that guy on a motorcycle, and I was just super impressed. I'm like, now that takes skill. And I've been watching these guys just zip around these back roads here in Costa Rica on their motorcycles, and they probably are some of the best drivers I've seen in the world. And when they drove through the water, I'm like, well, if the motorcycle can make it, I know we can make it. And we're driving, a 2000, I don't know, probably 2011 Daihatsu Teros or something like that.
It's some car I've never seen before. They have a lot of cars here I've never seen before.
It's also, I think it's kind of a,
it looks like a RAV4.
it kind of looks like a Toyota RAV4 or something along those lines. And it shares a lot of the same interior. So there's probably a lot of crossover between the two of them. However, the one thing I was disappointed in was we were coming up the driveway to our cabin, and I was trying to make the turn around to make it into our little drive.
And you got it on 3 wheels.
And I had it rocking on 2 wheels.
Oh, yeah, that's true. You had the...
Yeah, there's not a lot of flex in the suspension. And in addition to that, I couldn't get this other differential to lock. So I was a little disappointed in that. However, we made it. We just backed out of it. That was probably just a little bit of experience from driving off-road. I was like, you know what? We'll just back out of it and we'll just readjust the angle. And we made it in just fine. And so we haven't had that problem since. Mm-hmm. But essentially, though, no, it's impressive to watch the drivers around here because they do it all the time. And they're driving, 40 kilometers an hour around these twisty switchback mountain roads that for most people seem insane. And at the same time, you're meeting a bus head on a road that you would feel like maybe would hold 2 or 1.5 cars, let alone it's you and a bus coming head on.
And a couple dogs. Don't forget, there's always dogs in the road.
Maybe some dogs in the road. And if you happen to, there's someone walking from, or to their place of business or to their home. So it is, you gotta be on top of your driving game, that's for sure. But anyway, what's one of the other favorites?
So I will say probably my other favorite, and honestly probably my number one, was the snorkeling. And we've talked a lot about that already, so I won't recap it, but that was phenomenal.
Oh yeah.
The other thing I'll say is about this particular cabin and the view. Mm-hmm. The view is breathtaking, and today was the very first day where we actually cooked all 3 of our meals. We didn't go out to a restaurant today other than for cocktails. Yeah. We did go to a a mixology place?
Yeah.
And that was very interesting, but I loved being here in the cabin, cooking our own meals with the big bay window overlooking just this huge valley, and we finally figured out, we kept thinking,
it truly is a bay window.
Oh yeah, no kidding, it's a bay window. Because I kept seeing a body of water. I'm like, is that a body of water way down there? And then I know Lake Arenal is a big body of water, but we finally figured out that what we can see is the Nicoya Bay. The same bay we were sailing in, we can actually see it from this window way out in the distance. And it's just amazing. Like, it is truly amazing. And so that's probably my next big highlight is this place, this view, and cooking our own meals today and just hanging out in the cabin.
Oh yeah. So I will say, like, you can see her happiness right now, but you weren't around when we drove up to this place. It was like a kid in a candy store. She was giggly and
Well, because you never
just
know
so
what
happy.
you're going to get when you
Oh,
book
yeah,
it
yeah.
on Airbnb.
But-
like, you see the pictures,
Mhm.
but you don't know. But,
Mhm.
oh my gosh, I was excited.
This totally exceeded the expectations that I had for sure, and
Yeah.
I think hers too. Because you just when we got here, mind you, getting here is
a bit of an ordeal.
It's
a
yeah.
huge, steep road, and our both Google Maps and Waze app had us arriving like at least 500 kilometers before we actually got here, and so it's like we're driving
kilometers.
along.
I mean, you mean meters?
Oh, I'm
Meters.
sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, meters.
Yeah.
Because it would say, you are arrived, and we're looking around, and we're like, I don't see it.
I don't think this is it.
And so we had to like go on the hunt to actually find it. But once we found it.
Oh yeah. This is a place that I would recommend, and
especially like if you're a writer, like this would be heaven to just book this for a month, and you have like zero disturbances, the most amazing views, the most incredible nature sounds, and it just seems like a writer's paradise.
Oh yeah, you can kind of just take some time, and it's nice because it's just away from almost everything. Now you do get the traffic up and down the road, and it's the main road for a lot of.
It's still a dirt road.
Yeah, it's a dirt road, but it's the main road. So you get.
There was a bus, like a
bus
this morning. It was like at 6 a.m. this morning, and no kidding, a bus went down this road, which totally shocked me because I would have never thought an actual bus could make it, but it did.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it did. And there was a delivery driver on a motorcycle delivering like fast food. We saw that yesterday.
Yeah, and he's driving really fast.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. But we should at least recap day 8.
So are those most of your highlights then?
Oh yeah, I'd say for now.
Yeah. Okay.
Those are some big highlights. I mean,
so
it's been
and
an
today's actually a
amazing
pretty
trip.
big highlight too.
Oh,
so.
And the other, the thing about today, as we recap, but the Tarzan swing was so unexpected, and I felt so brave.
Yeah.
So today, what we did on day 8, we're here in Monteverde. And we started the morning at 8 a.m. at the Don Juan coffee tour. And so I booked the reservation online to start at 8. And in my mind, it's going to be a whole group of people all arriving at 8. We had like our own private tour with a guide who could speak amazing English.
And he was super intelligent. Like, he is like a guru of coffee and agriculture.
Yes, because the tour was for coffee, chocolate, and sugarcane. And it was supposed to last 2 hours, and it went for 2.5. And I feel like I know so much now about coffee, chocolate and sugarcane.
Yep.
And then we got to do all the taste tests of the chocolates and the coffee, and we got to juice the sugarcane.
Oh,
and it was a great tour. Like, truly, a great tour.
Yeah, it was definitely worth it. What did we spend, about 2 hours?
Oh, yeah, well, 2.5, because it was supposed to be 8 to 10, and it went till 10:30. It was so good. And then after that, we went to the adventure park, and I can never remember the name. It starts with an S. It's like Salvatura Adventure Park.
Salvatura. Yeah.
And they offer like a ton of things, but we really only wanted to do 2 things. We wanted to zip line and do the hanging bridges. And so the first thing we did was the zip lines. And it was raining, and so we've saved the hanging bridges till tomorrow morning because we were drenched. But on the zip lines, I don't even know how many there were. Like somewhere between 12 and 15.
There's like 13, I think.
Okay. And so, like, you're in the rainforest. Like, canopies, I mean, you are deep in the rainforest.
You're in the canopy, and then you launch out of the canopy.
Like, you are,
and
like, you're in layers of green.
Yeah.
Layers of green. And so you're going along, and you're doing the zip lines, and everything is, like, just as you would expect. And then you get to this one where there's like, you can do the zip line or you can do the Tarzan swing. And I'm like, what's the Tarzan swing? And I'm like, do we have to pay extra for that? And I guess not. They let us do it. It was exhilarating.
So Doris said, hey, you take care of this while I
went to the restroom. I'm like, go buy the tickets, please.
Yeah, so I took care of the tickets. Now, there was 2 options. The options that you had to pay for were you can either do the last zip line regular, right? Just hooking up and just doing the zip line, or you can do it Superman. And then,
And we're thrifty. He
yeah.
picked, we're just going to do regular.
Well, I was trying to channel my inner Dory.
What would Dory
My
do?
inner Dory would
Dory
say,
would never pay extra.
never pay extra for anything. So I said, no, I'm not going to pay extra for that Superman experience. And then they said, oh, and you'll have the option to do the Tarzan swing. And I was like, okay, sounds like fun. And then I think there was a couple of other options for pictures, which we did not pay for. However, so we did all the zip lines, and there was like I think it was 13 zip lines, and then we get to the end, and everybody's going to the Tarzan swing, and I'm like,
oh, and let me tell you, I could totally feel the vibe that he was just waiting on me to say, we're not doing that, and he'd be like, cool, I'm good with not doing that. But that was not the vibe I was having. I was like, I'm in Costa Rica. I may never have a chance at this. We're doing it.
and so we
so fun.
climbed up this
I don't know if it was 3 stories.
30-foot platform.
Like it was multi-layers. You get up.
Yeah.
And usually the zip line, it's like a nice even line. You just lift your feet and you go. Yeah. This one, you're connected to a thing way up there, and when you lift your feet, there's no straight. It is plummeting down and huge swing.
Well, first off, there's no lifting your feet.
They shove
kick you off of there. They literally kick you off
of the platform,
so you don't hit your head on the back of it as you swing to and plummet to the ground.
For those of you familiar with Silver Dollar City's barn swing, it's like doing the barn swing, but just being tethered by a rope.
And kicked off the top of the platform.
Kicked off.
Yeah.
Oh, I squealed like a girl, but it was so fun. Like, I loved it.
Oh, yeah. It was fun. However, I saw that, I'm like, because not only is it a 30-foot platform that you just get kicked off of, but as you get kicked off of it, the elevation of the hill is going down.
Oh, yeah. So it's
by the time you're at the top of the outward swing, you're probably 200 feet off the ground.
It felt like you're flying. It was great.
Yeah. It's like being on a swing, like a rope swing. When you're a kid, only
you're an adult and it's huge.
Adult and it's like probably 20 times as tall.
And so right after the Tarzan swing is the final zip line. So you're like, what on earth is going to be this? And we didn't pay for the Superman, so it's like, what's this going to be? It was awesome. So the very final zip line, we got to do it tandem, and it is 1 kilometer long. And not only that, but because it had been raining and the clouds moved in, like you leave the platform and you get immersed into a cloud. Like, not even kidding. You are going into a cloud because we would watch the people ahead of us and they just disappeared.
You can smell it. It smells like cloud.
Moisture in the air.
Yeah, like moisture in the air.
Green, fertile rainforest in a cloud.
Yeah, so you just disappear into a cloud for a minute or two.
And so we were doing tandem, like flying into the cloud, and in my mind, we're just going to stay in a cloud. No, we came out of the cloud, and you're just so far off the ground. I mean, so far. Like the trees are so far below you, and then you enter the mist again, because this one is 1 kilometer long, and then you can see the next platform. And every single platform, they tell you the signal, like if they want you to slow down. But they've never used it. So here we are, 13 platforms. Nobody's ever told us to slow down. Well, on this one, the guy's like, slow down. We were going so fast. And it was awesome. So essentially the very last zip line through the clouds, tandem, at the fastest speed ever. It was a great day.
It's really because I have so much weight that we had a lot of momentum. I'm serious. Like everybody else that had come through there, There was no
Nobody
hand
told them to
signals,
slow down. I think
no-
our combined
yeah.
weight
Yeah.
increased our velocity.
With us, but we were flying.
It was so fun.
And by the time we get there and we hit the brake, and I'm like trying to brake myself because she's just, her job is just to hold on to her harness.
Yeah.
And I'm the brake guy, and I'm pulling down on with these gloves that we had that had these extra padding on the palms.
Extra leather across. Yeah.
They're like, okay, those are the brakes. So I'm just like, okay, so I'm pulling down, and we're just flying into there, and we hit the brake, and the guy like literally is like still trying to catch us as we fly over the platform like 40 feet, 50 feet the other direction. He's still like slowing us down, and we finally stop. Now everybody else, there were some people that just came down, and they barely made it to the platform.
Oh yeah, and we were about to hit the tree.
Yeah.
We were going so fast.
And we were flying. That was probably.
It was so fun.
It was fun.
And we were at this point absolutely drenched to the bone.
Soaking
it had
wet.
been raining.
Yeah.
And so even though we had the ticket to the hanging bridges, I went to, and I'm like, can we use this ticket tomorrow? And they're like, yep. So I'm like, cool, let's go back to the cabin, make our own lunch, get into some dry clothes. But we had a great day in Monteverde, and I'm very, very excited about what's ahead of us. Like, I can't wait to check out this $18 a night Airbnb. But I think our plan, because today is September 1st, and we fly home on September 8th, and I think at this point we're going to go to La Fortuna and then head to the Caribbean. Because
there's been a lot of recommendations to head to the Caribbean.
To head to the Caribbean. Everybody says it's
Yeah.
just such a different feel, and since we've done the Pacific side, why not? Let's try it.
And I think, it's kind of like I was telling her, I was like, when you live at Lake of the Ozarks, it's not that fun, right? And so you're wanting to go somewhere else. And it could be like any beach, anywhere in America. If you live there, it just loses its luster, right? So I keep saying, hey, we've been to the Caribbean several times, but maybe it is.
Maybe it's different here.
Maybe it's different. Maybe it is all that. But I'm sure it's not going to be terrible, because there's never been a time that
There's never been
the
a
Caribbean
terrible
that I
time.
said that it was like, oh yeah, I wish I didn't go there.
And there's nowhere we've been yet on this vacation
Oh, yeah.
that hasn't exceeded expectations. Like
Definitely.
this, I don't think we could pick a bad spot. Like, Costa Rica is amazing.
Yeah,
Loving it.
there's a lot to do.
Yes.
So, any other highlights you can think of?
Well, I can see we're at 27 minutes, and probably only our parents are still listening at this point. So I think we should wrap it up, finish our cocktails, get a good night's sleep, because we got an early day tomorrow.
That we do. We're going to
Yes.
La Fortuna, right?
Yep, we're going to make breakfast, do the hanging bridges, and then head out for the 3-hour drive to La Fortuna to check out our $18 a night Airbnb.
Thanks to Dory.
Thanks for listening. We'll, I guess, keep you posted and see what happens next. Y'all have a great night.
All right.